Hello and welcome to Insert Buzzword Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy.
And I'm Tristan. Insert Buzzword, the podcast that breaks through the business buzzwords to explore the genuine stories behind entrepreneurial journeys.
In the heart of Scotland, we venture into the lives of entrepreneurs and business professionals, uncovering the unique challenges and triumphs that define their paths.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Insert Buzzword Podcast. This week, I'm delighted to be bringing Bryan MacMillan to the podcast. Tristan, my co-host, is also here. We're going to see if his internet can cope with an hour-long podcast this time. But by way of a quick introduction, Bryan, welcome. Would you like to tell us who you are and what you do, please?
Yeah, no, thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I'm Bryan. I founded Tyre Runner. We're a price comparison, or mostly tyre comparison, not just price comparison service for tyres. We started that about 4 years ago. But yeah, prior to that, my background's been mostly in software. Writing software for other companies mostly. From music companies was where I started off my career. Sort of the prerequisite Spotify called Omniphone, which was quite an interesting gig back in the day. Ended up with a sidetrack in Kwik Fit for a number of years, and on and in and out of consultancy for financial services and whiskey companies. Whiskey companies was an interesting sidetrack. But that's been me.
Amazing. So, as with all of our podcast guests, I'm immediately massively excited. Tristan has kept it completely under wraps as to who you are and what you do. I need new tires for my car.
There you go.
I've set the tread. I think I'm good for another couple of thousand miles. Right, where do we start? So Kwik Fit as a side line, was that somewhat the inspiration where you sort of decided to start the comparison side for tires?
Yeah, I think way back in my childhood, I was actually in music. So music seemed like my default, thing to go into. My first graduate job being in music, but my other love was always cars. And I was a recruiter. I got in touch at one stage and said, "There's this job. I've done the music thing now, so try the car thing." Ended up in Kwik Fit in their software team for a number of years. Ended up leading that team. Grew the team to about 13 guys, 13 software engineers before I left. It was good. It was interesting seeing the other side of the industry. It's a big old industry, not a more and underrated and underappreciated industry. But I've always been interested in cars, so it's quite interesting, learning about parts and all that kind of stuff. So some of the inspiration from Tyre kind of came out of that, just looking at the market in the tire world especially is, completely undigitized, and it still is even in 2024. I always say the tire market is like where the insurance market was in 2000. Even with it, the big success stories, local Scottish success story, Black Circles, and Kwik Fit, less than 20% of the market is online today. Vast majority of the market is offline, and actually the vast majority of the market is the small independent guys. It's the one-man bands that rule most of the market. So it's quite a digitally immature market, and customers generally don't appreciate tires either. And actually, we're getting the right tire can sometimes be just as challenging as actually getting a tire that you don't feel like you're getting ripped off by either. So that was kind of the inspiration Tyre Runner came from. I suppose right now we're kind of comparing all the big retailers. So we compare, there's National and there's Halfords and there's Black Circles. In Scotland, down south, we're starting to expand the network a bit more. The regional players and the smaller ones, and we're trying to bring on those smaller garages, but that is challenging, and it's mostly due to that digital penetration. It's so low. It's one of the least digitized industries in the UK, believe it or not.
Love it. So as a consumer and someone that also gets kind of works in the automotive trade, trying to find new tires for my car, I'm like, where do I even start? Like, I don't know how big the rooms are. I don't know how wide I need. I don't know what type. Like, so how does your website work?
I know, and that's one of the big, talking about digitization of the market. So that's one of the big problems as well. People expect to be able to just put in their reg plate and be told it's exactly that. But there isn't a service in the UK that can do that at all. There's actually only 4 data providers that can provide or are licensed really for the DVLA's data for reg plates. And then in turn, they've then tried to match that to what is the actual wheel in the car. But what they actually do is they make a guess at it. So what they say is, okay, you've got a Vauxhall Corsa. Great. Here's the 16 wheel sizes that could possibly be on a Vauxhall Corsa. We reckon your model might be this one, but if you've upgraded the wheels or you've done secondary upgrades, there's no guarantee. So not a single person in the UK can definitely tell you that this wheel is on this car at any point in time. And of course, the tyre industry is full of jargon. You're talking about buzzwords. The tyre industry couldn't be any more full of them. You know, whether it's homologation this or speed rating that, you know, customers get confused. I mean, we get people on the phone all the time, you know, and I've no idea how to read the tyre size, and, you know, they're stuck at the side of the road. And you're like, well, you know, you try to talk them through it the best you can, but, you know, people expect to be able to, especially in this day and age, you know, you should be able to hit a website and be told exactly what's on your car. But yeah, there's a long way to go before that is actually possible when we're trying to make inroads in that space, but it is difficult. It is really difficult. So yeah, so right now, you can use the reg plate lookup on our site. I would recommend you go outside and actually look at your tyre and get the numbers off them though, as I would with any website. So yeah, you chuck your tyre size in the site, and it goes off and searches a whole bunch of retailers, kind of hopefully preventing you from having to phone around or shop around yourself.
Thanks. Right, well, I know I'll do it the first thing tomorrow when I get to the office.
There you go.
Because we had, that's my experience of the industry at the moment, is it is all like locally based folks, right? So whether it's diamond cutting of the alloys, powder coating of this, refitting of tires, tow bars, this, that, the next thing, there's loads of little like independents. It's not like, doesn't seem like it's, how would you call it, like consolidated? Do you know what I mean? Like it is like 7 days a week as well.
It is. I mean, there's like, I seen a stat at one point here. There's actually more tyre fitters in the UK than there is coffee shops, believe it or not.
Wow.
Incredible stat. There's, you know, it's about 24,000 tyre fitters we reckon, or tyre retailers we reckon we've got in the UK. But the supply chain above that, what most people don't realise as well, is you've got about 10,000 different tyres now fit vehicles in the UK. So any one garage can hold all that in stock. So what they end up doing is nearly the whole industry operates on same day fulfillment from their wholesalers.
Right.
And the wholesalers, there actually isn't that many of them. Believe it or not, you've really got half a dozen that are decent size, and really off those, there really is about only 4 kind of big national ones. So most people are getting their supply from the same place. But retail to the customer is your
interesting. So how does that affect the retail pricing? Like, why is there is there a big variation in pricing given that the market is controlled by so few players?
Yes and no. So actually, sometimes if you're comparing like for like, you tend to find there isn't that much of a difference. But the problem is comparing like for like with a tyre, because you've got a Michelin Pilot Sport on your car. Michelin Pilot Sports underneath the covers, I've got about 150 different sub-SKUs. So what you end up finding is, you go in and you say, I've got a 205, 55, 16, and I want Michelin Pilot Sport. And one guy gives you a price, and you go down the road and you say, I've just had the price from him. And he goes, I can beat that. But what he's not telling you is he's not giving you the exact fit. I always say it's a bit like a suit, going in for a suit. You know, you can go to Savile Row and get the absolute perfect fit to your body shape, or you can go down a big high street retailer and get a suit for 50 quid, and it's a bit like that. And what ends up happening is one guy's pressing you for the perfect fit Italian, Italian suit, and then the guy down the road's giving you the pre-mark special, even though it is technically a Michelin Pilot Sport. So yeah, the big variety of actually just identifying what is the correct SKU, and some of that comes down to homologation, speed ratings, weight. Commercial vehicles is even more interesting. You know, like CLI ratings for weight. Step axle you're putting on. You remember that one?
Well, a little bit. It's like our office manager Martin. Service manager Martin. I'm the office manager. He could talk to you for hours about tires.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I just need to know what's the model, what's the rating. Like, and it was like, is it this? I was like, dude, I just need to. I don't need the essay or the tutorial. I just need a number.
And that's it. I mean, people often ask me as well, is, you know, what's the difference between your homologated, you know, BMW star marked Pilot Sport, you know, Michelin Pilot Sport, and the non, you know, standard SKU. And it doesn't look like much, but see if you see them side by side, you would see the difference. There is differences in tread patterns usually, and different construction. That deals with differences in the vehicle's weight, the vehicle's torque. Some of this is depending on how anal you are. You know, the vehicle manufacturer will always recommend the tyre that they've tested. Well, how anal are you on it? Some people are really, you know, want to be exact, especially in high performance vehicles where it actually does make a difference.
I do feel like I need to let Tristan ask a question at some point, because I could talk to you about tires for a while. Like, how much of does it make a big difference? Like, so I recently got a new-ish car. It's like night and day compared to my old one. But now that I know that I a couple of thousand miles, I'm probably going to have to replace the fronts, probably do all four at the same time. Like, should I be going for something quite high performance compared to, do you know what I mean, to get the best out of the car? Does it make that much of a difference?
On high performance vehicles, 100%. If you test them back to back, you will see the difference. I think most of the time, I think because tyres wear so gradually, you sometimes don't notice the difference.
Well, mine, I'm like, shit, I've not had it that long, but I've clearly been leathering it, not breaking any laws or speed limits. But the service manager Martin was like, yeah, was it feathering on the outside of tires?
All right, okay.
Yeah, you're going around corners quite quickly. I'm like, but it just holds the road and it feels totally fine. So, like, at what point do I need to get really good tires?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, the true inspiration for Tyre Runner was, you know, when I first went out consultancy after I left Kwik Fit. You know, I done the financial services circuit for a wee while, and I done the consultant thing. I went and got the Porsche in the States.
Not really.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's great fun. But when you come to look at tyres and everything else, and you realise how expensive it is to actually run.
No, we're like, Martin, how much are these going to be? I'm like, damn, and I need 4 of them at one time.
Actually, to be honest with vehicles like that, isn't it really? Let's talk a little bit about the price, but it's actually about the availability, because the actual perfect fit shoes, if you like, for that type of car, it's hard to get because not everyone will hold them in stock. You know, they're quite rare. So yeah, when I first started Tyre Runner, it was as much about the availability, who's got this in stock, than it was about maybe saving a quid or two that one retailer versus the other. And it still kind of is that, for me anyway. For some customers, really, what most people are actually surprised about is we sell more premium tyres through Tyre Runner than we do budgets. So yeah, so everyone
is what, like, the customer's more discerning when they're actually trying to compare, or
I think most
Joe
of
Blogs is quite happy to go to Kwik Fit and take whatever they've got on the shelf.
Yeah, I think most of the people that shop online are the enthusiasts and the people that genuinely probably know what they're doing a wee bit more. They're a wee bit more confident and actually what is the size and can I fit it? Whereby, you know, a lot of Joe Blogs, they don't know. So they turn up at the garage completely uneducated and the guy could sell them anything.
Yeah, guilty. Guilty. Nice. Right, final question before I do let Tristan. How long did you keep the Porsche for before you passed it on?
I had that for 3 years.
3 years? Wow, so it was a mistake you were quite willing to keep for a bit.
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I mean, I'm a car person. You know, hand in heart, I loved it. But, you know, I was starting to think, I'd already started to develop Tyre on the side by that point. And I was starting to think, okay, I might want to cut outgoings before I start thinking about, you know, giving up consultancy and going into the startup life. So yeah, the car was an unfortunate consequence of that one. So
Victim to startup life.
welcome to startup. Yeah.
Yeah. The boss at Camper King, he took a Macan recently and kept it for all of about 2 weeks before selling it on. It's like, it just drinks diesel, it's too expensive, and although it was a dream car for him, he was like, yeah, I regret the purchase. So
Yeah.
and with that, Tristan, I feel it's only fair to let you ask a question too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be involved in the conversation. Is there, in your journey or career, was a particular kind of pivotal moment or turning point you felt that where things ramped up, rest, or?
I'll be honest, I think most of I've just kind of fell into things, if I'm being brutally honest, and kind of followed a what I'm interested in. I know that kind of sounds, I nearly actually went to uni to do music. I nearly went to Edinburgh, actually. I did unconditionally go to Edinburgh to do music. And at the very last minute...
That would have been big.
Yeah, that would be a very expensive mistake. At the very last minute, I decided, no, I should go and take my second choice, which was head at what to do computer science. I still really don't know to this day why. I obviously seen that computers was a better choice than music. And it's kind of just followed on from there. When I got my first job, it was like, oh, it's great. It's in software and music. Perfect. And that company was doing pretty well. And it was the reason I left is it was kind of showing signs that things weren't going so well with the business. And yeah, about 6-12 months after I left, they went into administration. The good news for them is most of their assets got bought out by Apple, and it's now basically Apple streaming music. A couple of colleagues ended up there, but yeah, I left and went to do a Kwik Fit thing. Yeah, no, I think most of my stuff I just stumbled along, if I'm being really honest. I mean, most people kind of sit and say, oh yeah, I had a clear plan. I don't think anyone's really got a plan. I think you just need to, take opportunities if they come up, and know when to say no, and dive over 2 feet when you say it. If you want to say yes. Yeah, I kind of see everything strategic. I think start a company. I always kind of thought I would start a company myself at some point. I think most of that is because I'm probably a bad employee. If I'm being honest, I like dying with my own sword kind of thing. I remember I had that one past boss, shouting at me across the room because I kept bringing him ideas about things we could do. And I've always been that, that 100 miles an hour, 100 ideas. So yeah, I'm probably not, probably distractive to a lot of the workforce. So I think, yeah, starting my own stuff and sort of dying on my own sword. Well, I always knew I would do it. I didn't know what it would be. So yeah, for me, like going into consultancy was like not an easy road into it, because it's not, but an easier road in, and allowed me to kind of self-fund doing Tyre Runner as well, so bootstrap as long as we possibly could. And that was, I would say that was intentional, but I've never read about it. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, in the software world, I think, really the US, especially Silicon Valley, still is the mecca, of the software world. Should I move there when I was younger? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe with that, if I fancied to, Meta or Google or something, that would have been nice. Am I intelligent enough for that? I don't know. Probably, again, I'll probably be much of that. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think so.
Early life was a particular inspiration that led you down these paths, or were you literally just going with the flow and kind of fell into?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I I was the first one in the family to go to uni. If I even my extended family, my dad was a construction site manager. My mum was a registrar. First best marriages. So yeah, reasonably, I would say humble upbringing. My dad was super into football. I just wasn't. Music was my thing. I've never really been into football. And yeah, so no, I think I'd probably say earlier dynamo and sword. I've always kind of had the inspiration and never been reliant on anyone else. There's probably a few reasons for that, but yeah, I think that's probably the main motivation right now to keep going is do I really want to go back and be told what to do?
I've got one more question before I hand it back to Jeremy. But
Podcast.
your website, maybe I should have done so before this podcast. But if you go into Tyre Runner, you put what do you do? You put the tire size in, you put the color reg in.
Size or reg, yeah, size or reg. Pop the tire size or the reg in. Preferably,
and then it'll pull up a list of retailers or
I'll ask you what area that you're in, and the reason we're doing that is we're trying to filter down just to the retailers that are in your area that are on their network. Right now in Scotland, that's mostly the big ones. If you're down south, Milton Keynes area, London area, you'll get some regional independents as well. Up in Scotland, you'll bounce out exactly like Skyscanner. You'll bounce out to the third party's website, so it's Halfords or National. Down south, down south we help the retailers, especially the ones that have not really got the digital capabilities. We take the transactions for them, and order the tires from the wholesalers for them. Take the transaction, customer gets a welcome email, the date and time slot when they get into the point of sale systems, and pop the diary slots in for the customer. So it's a wee bit more seamless, a wee bit more real time down there, and that's kind of the model we're trying to head to. But it's a long road to get there. I don't know if that'll be 1, 3 or 5 years by the time we actually get there across the country. But yeah.
Okay. And what's the ambitions for the business? Are you looking to operate in different countries, or are you just focused on the UK?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're very much just the UK. I think, some people ask me what's the difference between you and Black Circle, and I always say the difference between us and Black Circle is Black Circle is another retailer. They buy tyres directly themselves and they send them to local fitters. The problem with that model is I believe that model's coming at the end of its life, because the local fitters, believe it or not, don't make a great margin off that model at all. Our model is upside down of that. We go to the retailers and we say, what do you want? What do you want to sell these tyres at? We don't increase prices at all, and we take a commission off the retailers on the back end. But the customer should be seeing the same price, whether it's the retailer's website or our website. We don't mess with the results like food delivery services do. We're a pure play, very similar to Skyscanner. So where's the ambition? Skyscanner would be nice. Is the market it's big in tyres as it is in travel? Don't know on that one. But we've always had the kind of mindset of building this to at least several European countries, purely on a tech play, as minimal operations as we possibly can. So yeah, we'll see where the years ahead go, but yeah, it's definitely been an intention.
I did say it was only one question. I've asked about 3 since, but what is your role? Obviously, you've got a tech background, but are you doing a lot of, networking or relationship building with the retailers or tire fitters?
Yeah. I mean, I find, to be honest, the lines of code I write is probably embarrassingly small these days. If I get an editor open once a week, I'm doing well for an hour or two. I think most of it now is everything. I mean, that's the startup life. It's not. I think you can't come with it with one skill. You need to be a jack of all trades. You're doing marketing 1 minute, you're doing sales the next, diving into finances, and dealing with HMRC or fixed, so it is really a bit of everything. I think that's what makes it exciting as well, and I think being able to delegate, actually almost being able to delegate the things that you are good at so that you can concentrate on figuring out the rest. It makes it easier to delegate. I think if you delegate the stuff that you are good at, that's kind of counterintuitive to what a lot of people say. Because straight away you'll know if someone's doing it correctly, if you're actually good at it. I've got a few guys that kind of do freelance work for me, variety, different hours a week for me, and I trust them. Like I trust them. I've worked for them for a long time, and I know when if I delegate, they're all get done. They'll be done to a good standard and a good quality, and not be like go with massive security holes in it, which allows me then to concentrate on other stuff.
Jezriani, you're on the clock.
For tires. We're shopping for tires. We're shopping for tires on tyrerunner.com. The prices look awesome. So see your customer reviews. Is that based on people reviewing on your website, or are they aggregated from elsewhere?
No, right now they're our reviews. We don't aggregate reviews. Well, actually, I say that we've got a bit of partnership going with the big YouTubers actually in this space. If anyone's up for watching some very, very geeky videos, and Jonathan won't mind me saying that, very, very geeky videos on YouTube, tyrereviews.com is well worth checking out. Jonathan's the quality of his production in the videos and the amount of effort he puts into reviewing tyres, it is a complete and utter education. So we get some data back from Jonathan on these are drivers reviewing their own tyres on his website, but also his professional. So he's a professional race driver, but he does this full time. And he's, he takes a very scientific catch-all view. It's a very scientific based analysis of the tyre models. So some of the information we present to customers is either his professional reviews or drivers' reviews. So you get kind of, what is the tyre doing in the wet? What is it doing the snow? Stopping distances, handling, like some type of rating. It's trying to give the customer a wee bit more data than just the usual marketing bump that you see on every other website.
Awesome. Well, with that said, I think we know what I'm getting. It's, not only price, but also reviews, especially if they're from customers on your website. See the music. I'm keen to talk to you about the music. What instruments did you play? Or do you play some?
I don't really play nowadays, but I used to, funnily enough, I was a classical accordionist.
Oh.
Yeah, so I played played in a classical accordion orchestra, in Paisley in my younger years.
It's a curveball.
Yeah, it's a bit of a curveball. Done a bit of, obviously, you kind of go into traditional Scottish just a wee bit. But yeah, most of the stuff I done was classical. Quite interesting. We done, I won the under-17 championships when I was younger, the British Championships, won several Scottish titles. I was okay. I would say I was okay. I'm probably being a wee bit modest for that, but
you were a national champion.
I was okay. I would say I think the main reason for not going into music was I think careers in music are limited, and you most likely want to go teaching. And I know I had no patience to do to a teacher. I've got a lot of respect for teachers and people that can, but I knew that was never me. I played the accordion, played a wee bit of piano and keyboard and stuff as well. It was kind of secondary instruments, and they'd have been my secondary instruments for going to uni. But it was I think people ask me what's the crossover. People say before the crossover between music and software, and the many people that I've met in software that are also musicians is incredible. I don't know. I think there must be some kind of brain function that likes that mathematic patterns or something. I don't know, but yeah, I've got quite a lot of friends actually that are in both, or I've met them through one or the other. Yeah,
Interesting. And we had no regrets then, but like you don't play anymore, or?
and to be honest, it's a time thing. I think when I go into something, I like to go into it full force and give absolutely everything. And for me, like when I was playing competitively when I was young, you were spending 10, 15 to 20 hours a week in your spare time or trying to find that to practice. You know, if I was going on stage and playing for example, a 15-minute piece, a 15-minute recital style piece, that would be a year's worth of practice to learn that one piece. And you play that every single night. I used to live next door. We lived in a semi-detached that when I was younger, and my auntie, believe it or not, lived next door. I used to drive her absolutely insane going over the same 3 bars over and over and over and over again. So yeah, no, I think it's more that I've let it kind of drift away more, that I know I haven't got the hour a night or 2 hours a night that's needed to actually do it properly.
Like, do you take comfort from the fact you can go back into it if you wanted to?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I still lift it every now and again. It comes out to usually when my other half wants me to play New Year or something, or my mum's, got on at me for not lifting it for a while. So yeah, it comes out every now and again. I've still got half a dozen songs in the top of my head that I can just rattle out straight away. But yeah, anything that's serious or a bit towards the upper grades, your grade, 6, 7, 8 in recitals, virtuoso stuff. I can do that any longer. That's practice needed. Some of the easier stuff I can sight read still. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Likewise.
Was any of your parents musical, or what was the motivation to get into music? Just happened an interest.
My earliest memory of it actually is that I wasn't really that into football, and I think my dad kind of knew that. And we used to go up to my dad's mum, my granny, on a Saturday night, and she used to listen to Take the 4. I don't know what I said, and I think I was maybe 7 or 8 year old. She was listening to that, and I must have said something, and I must have showed some type of interest in going, oh, that's, could learn that. And next thing I knew, I was down at a local teacher, starting to learn. So first few years I spent with him, and then eventually, got involved with the kind of the accordion orchestra through in Paisley, where there was a lot more young people involved. Ended up through there. It was quite good. I think it was good to have a hobby that wasn't, for me, football, because football was a big part of my family, but even my brother and extended family, they're all mega into football. I was passive interest at most.
You get to go on any trips through the music, or any kind of travel?
Yeah, I was quite lucky actually. We went kind of up and down the UK. I unfortunately missed some of the international trips. But yeah, the orchestra actually they went to Canada, America, Germany. I unfortunately missed some of them. But yeah, I mean, I'm down the UK, but it's sort of the unglamorous seaside resorts that most of the competitions used to be played at. So Blackpool, Scarborough. Those were interesting places. But yeah, a wee bit, not overly. Yeah, I've
Beg your pardon?
Are you musical?
Yeah, I mean, didn't compete anywhere near the level you did, but I was a junior brass 1 year for Linlithgow. Piano, trumpet, and drums were my instruments, so classical background. My family's very musical. Dad and his brothers were like conservatoire in Geneva and what have you. But I think like you, I don't want to say I gave up, but when I was in primary school, got through the grades very quickly, and then got to high school, priorities kind of changed, spending hours practicing the same pieces. I don't know. Yeah, became a bit more of a chore. But I'd take comfort from the fact, like you said, to get to the level I was when I was younger, I know I can do it, but it would require practice and the time and the dedication and the motivation to do it. I guess when I did eventually give up piano lessons first, they'll parents are like, you will regret that. You definitely get older and wish you hadn't given up. And there's a little bit of that, I guess. But like I said, I take comfort from the fact like you that I know I'm probably still capable of it, but it would just require a bit of practice and dedication and the motivation to do it again.
Went on to you.
Well, they were, but you know, it was a musical, as I said, it was a musical family that I came from. I mean, there's like,
what was your favorite?
And I think
the piece of music that broke you?
I'd tell you, grade 5 exams when I was in B6, something like that. It's like, oh God, I need to place again. And my dad was my accompanist, so there was a certain amount of like family friction, like, Dad, I want to stop. Can I stop, please? Now we've done it for hours. Can we stop now? But no, I think like you though, it has informed a lot of what I do. There's a certain amount of discipline and rigor that's required to perform at that kind of level and to learn something that consistently. And I guess, yeah, it was useful. I mean, there's transferable skills in all of that, and being musical and knowing how to hold a tune. And I was in the choir last year and enjoyed that as a sort of musical outlet.
One thing I can do is sing. I can vaguely do some scales for you have to do in part of this,
yeah, the exams.
That's about all. But,
I remember that used to be so awkward as well. Sat with the examiner in the room singing these scales, like, it's just really awkward.
Yeah, give me a third, give me a fifth. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can you bring it back to business?
Yeah.
What's your least favorite part of being a startup owner and founder?
Probably the big one, being honest, financing. Financing a startup, yeah, it is really difficult. You see in the press, people doing funding rounds and grants this and funding rounds that and equity raised here. And I think most people kind of underestimate actually under the surface just how much work goes into, I think you get a lot of non-founders or non-tech people going, why are you celebrating raising money? But I think if you actually look at how much effort's involved in it is worth celebrating. We tried to raise money for Tyre Runner back in mid of COVID sort of era. We got quite far, but actually got very far down the track. With term sheets and offer from a London-based VC. I'll not tell you about one. And long story short, I'll not get too much into detail, but we had to walk away from it. They were leading the round. We had to walk away after a lot of months of negotiation. And then unfortunately, most of the other founders the other investors then walked away as well, because, if you've not got your lead investor, the lead investor does most of the work in bringing a funding round together. They do most of the due diligence, legals, and paperwork and all that. Completely not our fault, and nothing I could have done with it. Completely, actually some tragic circumstances involved as well. But at the end of the day, sometimes things don't work and you need to walk away. We eventually, after many months of negotiation, we came back with a slightly different deal. But again, I'm not going into too much of the detail, but the deal on the table for us just wasn't worth taking. And I think that wasn't because of financial terms. A lot of people think, you're being greedy, you're trying to ask for too much, or you're not giving away enough equity. But it actually wasn't that. It was actually due to terms. And the terms and the deals can actually, in the UK, is the stuff that makes or breaks. I think what you tend to find is people are very conservative in the UK, or Scotland especially, very conservative. So, people are always looking for the downside. What can I do to prevent the downside? And sometimes you just can't prevent the downside. If something's going to fail, it's going to fail, and you're better finding out fast. And I think That's one of the things I found out when doing a bit of traveling. Fortunately, with consultancy, I was done some work abroad as well, and I think attitudes are a lot different. People talk about it in the US, but it's the risk, the type, and it's a more, oh, go ahead, let's just get it done, do it attitude. Maybe in the UK we go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we could do that. But what about all these negative things? We need to protect ourselves against all those. So yeah, so we had to walk away because of some of the terms associated, because the risk being that some of the terms that they were trying to put on us would have meant that we could have got another 7-8 years down the line, and those terms could have came back to bite. And in the startup community in Scotland, people have probably heard some of the stories about Fanjo and others, where some of the headlines would say that they were very successful companies, unicorn status, but the founders walked away with, I believe next to nothing.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to dedicate literally dedicate the next 10 years of my life to something, on my side, I don't want to do that if there's absolutely no reason to do it. So yeah, I think that is the biggest challenge, and it still is in Scotland, is funding that risk, and especially for big businesses. Growth potential businesses. I think there isn't a language. I think this is one of half the problem as well, is we don't really have a language and words round about what is the different aspirations to different companies. There's nothing wrong with being a cookie cutter company, whether that's a coffee shop or a restaurant. It's an established business model. You can follow a business book generally. There's still some invention needed. But if you're doing something completely transformational or something completely new to try and build towards that unicorn status, if you're trying to unicorn hunt, that's never really the goal. But if you're trying to do something transformational, transform an industry, that's extremely difficult to do in the UK. Unfortunately, I talked to a few founders on that recently, and a lot of them actually went abroad because they've had to. Some of the terms put in the UK, just, you can't take it. So yeah, I think that's still the biggest challenge, is funding in the UK, especially tech businesses, because tech businesses tend to not be sustainable for a long period of time. Once they are sustainable, they operate at 80, 90, 100+% margin. Traditional business models operate at, usually somewhere between 10 and 30% margins, but you get cash through the door next month. Tech business, you could be building for 2, 3, 4 years before you actually get the product to market. I think with Tyre Runner, we've tried to be as bootstrappable and as sustainable as possible, trying to get some revenue through the door as we build. But fundamentally, we've still got quite a big build out to do, especially as I kind of call the tire industry, where like the Romans were having to build almost the roads in front of us, build integrations. Most integrations don't exist. We're having to build them, and build them with the wholesaler and with the retailers. It's not just a case of, okay, let's jump on the M1 and straight down. So yeah.
Like how much of your business is like a customer education piece?
Education. Yeah, there is quite a bit in that.
So do you need to explain what you do to the wholesalers, the retailers, and the customers?
Yes, because I think there is a kind of misinterpretation, especially from retailers and wholesalers, that we're a race to the bottom. The tire industry, believe it or not, used to be quite a high margin industry back before the 2000s. If you listen to some of the industry, they blame online as being, they drove their margins away. And then the margins in the tire industry is actually a lot smaller than most people would think they are now. I mean, they can be as little as a few percent in some cases at retail. In other areas, they're up at 20%. So not all doom and gloom. But it's actually counterintuitive. Some of the premium tires have less margin on them than the budgets. So when you get into a retailer and he's trying to push you a mid-range brand, it's probably because he's got more margin, not because they're better tires.
Right. like for the Kwik, I mean, I've Googled tire size on this car and gone back to your website.
Yeah.
I wasn't searching by price or it was the customer reviews. I wanted the best tires based on reviews, not necessarily price.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people just want that, I think, reassurance that actually this is genuine and not, you know, the mechanics. This comes back to kind of customer education piece. The DVLA stat shows it's like 1 in 4 vehicles on UK roads has got an illegal tyre on it today, you know, on the road. I mean, it's quite scary. The tyres, some of the pictures of some of the fitters send us in, it's absolutely scary, really scary. What is the roads? 2.2 million MOTs fail every single year because of tyres. You know, we reckon about 63% of all accidents in the wet are tyre related. You know, the stats,
wow,
astronomical, but the tyre laws in the UK have never been updated in over 30 odd years. We still allow part warrants. Don't know if I should be saying this or not, but I always call a part worn tyre. You can cut this bit out if you need to. I use condom. Why would you pick up a used condom at the side of the street and use it? You wouldn't.
Right.
So why would you buy a used tyre? People are quite happy to go and buy a used tyre, put it in the car, and then drive the kids to school. Why would you do that? That tyre has most likely came off a vehicle that's been totaled. It's came off a scrapyard. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, you know, those types of things are banned in other countries. They're just not banned in the UK. Our tyre laws are very lax, actually, compared to a lot of them, especially Northern Europe, who Northern Europe are forced to swap their tyres summer and winters every year.
Yeah.
Do we need that in the UK for the climate? Maybe not. But the good thing with that is tyres are professionally inspected every 6 months. Whereby in the UK, it could be three years before your first tyre inspection's done. So yeah, I mean, everyone does it. I mean, we should be checking it. It's a bit like your smoke alarm.
I'm going to say, Bryan, you're terrifying me. I want to go and check my wife's car right now. Like, when's the last? Because it's sort of like it was new when we got it. So you're like, have we ever actually changed the tires on that thing?
Yeah,
probably not.
Everyone's guilty of it. I mean, even me. I mean, I say it's like your smoke alarm. You know, we all know we should go and check that smoke alarm every week and press the button. I'm just looking at it up here in my ceiling right now, and I don't actually know sure when I'm not on that either.
That fancy system that we had to have for law for my insurance that connects them all together. Did we ever press the button after we got it installed?
Yeah, exactly. Tires are the same thing. You know, you jump in the car every day and you just don't think about it. And it's usually your MOT. When you come to do your MOT, that's usually the first person that checks your tires.
I mean, I don't want to give too much about my driving style, but I do notice when my tires are going.
So do I.
Yeah. Damn, that felt a little bit slippery there. Maybe need to check the tires. Yeah. I mean, does it form part, and I'm totally into the tire chat for some reason, but does it form part of your driver test? The theory part? Like, do you have to know how to check the tread on your tires? So I'm like, when did I ever have to do that?
No. It's absolutely incredible. The only four the roads we do very little on the theory test with. In fact, I think there's next to nothing. You don't do anything at the practical. So sometimes in the practical test, the examiner does ask you to do the odd things like tell me where the oil.
I just thought that checking tires, because it was the other day when I went in, I was like, Martin, how do I check the tread on my tires? He was like, well, turn the steering wheel. Let's have a look at the tread indicators in the tread of the tire. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize that's how you do it. I've been driving for over like 10, 15 years. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're finding as well is because the roads are in such bad condition with potholes right now, what's happening more and more is people are hitting potholes, the same pothole every single day, because most of us drive the same route every day. You try to avoid them where you can, but the HGV comes all the way, you have no choice but to hit it. What that does over time is it knocks your suspension out. It starts either eating away at components, or it knocks the tracking out, usually the tracking. What ends up happening is the tyres end up wearing inconsistently, and it's usually the inside edges. So the outside of the tyre can look completely normal. So if you're just glancing at it from the outside, and you're glancing at it from eye level every time you pass it, it could look fine. But the inside could be absolutely down to the cords.
I was about to say the woven bit of the tire.
Yeah.
Which mine weren't, but Martin did explain what feathering was. And
Yeah.
it's absolutely to the inside of the tire.
Ironically, I was on actually the road down to see a wholesaler down south a couple of months ago, and actually witnessed a blowout. And the young girl that was driving it got the absolute fright of her life, and she wiped out the back. It was a BMW, the sort of 1 Series, spun out to the back, hit the central reservation, and then wiped out a Volvo. The Volvo with a few kids in it as well. They're all down the embankment, smoke, steam going everywhere. After it run back, me and a couple of others dragged some of them out. Cause it was a tyre blowout, the tyres were in ridiculous condition. That was the side of a dual carriageway.
Wow.
So yeah, no, I don't want to scare everybody, but because I think
no, it's a useful message to hear. Because I had my
I think the tyre industry does a bit too much of that as well. You know, they scare people off. A lot of the marketing is to, people go, oh, you're just trying to pun tyres. But if you've actually ever seen a tyre blow out, yeah.
Which is also why you should always have 2 hands on the steering wheel. The instructor told me that. So you don't know if it's ever going to happen. Driving with 1 hand, you want 2 hands on the wheel. Even if it is an automatic.
Yeah, I know. I'm guilty of that one myself as well.
Yeah. Right, Tristan, one more for me, then I'll pass back over to you. What, future goals and plans? What are the big things you're looking to get accomplished with the company over the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I suppose for me, we're actively trying to bring on more wholesalers right now. Wholesalers unlock retailers for us. We've actually got a list of retailers. We get retailers getting in touch several times a week now, want to come on the networks. I think there's a bit that, retailers are kind of aware now that what we're trying to do is hopefully good for them, not bad for them. Not that, it should give them more opportunity in future, not less. So, I think bringing on the wholesalers, but getting the wholesalers to, do some of that technical work and work along with us. That's the main goal for the next 3 to 6 months. And, hopefully here in Scotland anyway, we've got some, a good couple of deals across the line recently. So, we'll, hopefully start making inroads in the next 6 months on that one. That's probably the
nice.
Goals.
Kristen, is your bandwidth up to a question?
No, I don't feel like asking anything. Is there any particular qualities or traits that you think have helped you be successful or develop your business today?
Yeah, I have. I don't know. I have probably my own dysphoria, probably with the word success or entrepreneur. I hate entrepreneur. I don't know what it is, but
me too.
I think the word's just bashed around. It's another talking about buzzwords. It is a buzzword. I always think it's one of those words that people should say that you are, but you shouldn't self-proclaim. I don't know. I just have an uncomfy realization with it. But yes, yes. I think I'm naturally inquisitive. I've always have been. I remember even some of my earliest memories, my dad doing work around the house, and I'm always like, why are you doing it like that? Why do you hammer a nail like that? Why do you hold your finger in this way? I've always been, my brain always went into problems. I think probably one of the reasons I went into tyres, and I call it the least sexiest, most boring industry in the world, and I think it is. But we all need tyres. When you actually start looking at problems and really dig deep, I think I've always been that kind of, I always see the why behind the why, or search for the why.
What are there any major trends or changes you think that will happen in the industry, in the tyre industry in the next few years?
Yeah, I think I had a couple of people ask me as well, why are you only doing tyres? Why are you not doing servicing and MOTs and everything else? And for me, actually, I think there's a massive trend. I mean, if you look at the sort of the automotive aftermarket in the UK, it's about £27 billion market. You know, it's one of the top markets in the UK. But the vast majority of that is servicing, it's labour, it's lubricants, it's oil. And as we transition to EVs, like it or not, the most of that is going to disappear. And what's going to be left? The main consumable in your car is going to be your tyres. And there's some interesting.
It's a cool space to be in.
Yeah, tyres is going to be the last consumable. I mean, brakes are going to be less used. Talk about customization, actually. Customizations are still going to be there. But an electric vehicle hardly needs serviced. I done 60,000 miles in an electric vehicle there, never serviced it once. It was telling me when it needs serviced, I never had to service it. Replaced tyres 4 times. But
windscreen wipers a couple of times, maybe.
No, I mean done wind wipers.
Really? Okay.
I
was about to say.
Yeah, so
screen wash. Surely it took screen wash.
It did. Yeah, took a couple of bottles of screen wash, but yeah. So yeah, I always say like tires is the last consumable in transport. And it's you know, in the UK it's a $6 billion replacement market alone in the UK. It's a big industry, underappreciated, and it's one of only a few industries that's going to survive this transition. So I think that's one of our plays to retailers as well, is, you know, what to try and help the retailers sell tires, because, you know, most of our offering to consumers going forward will be trying to do that education piece, you know, trying to educate consumers offline and with software more long term. But yeah, and you know, it needs, unfortunately, tires will become more expensive, because right now tires are used in lead gen for most of the garages. You know, the garages on the online websites right now mostly use tires as a lead gen right now, because they make next to nothing on tires. And then once you're in the garage, you know, they upsell you an MOT, they upsell you a service. That's where they make the margin. That's going to disappear. How long is it going to disappear? How long is it going to take us? I don't know. I think we'll still have diesel vehicles on the road for another 25 odd years yet. But that downward curve, you know, like, don't know how quickly that'll happen. But yeah, obviously that's my big, probably obvious prediction, I think. But yeah.
Well, that's it. Now that you've said it and explained it how you have, I'm like, damn, you'd be investing in tire companies.
yeah, hopefully. Yeah, that's always why we've kind of steered away from doing the whole mechanic servicing style stuff. And then MOTs, are, you know, again, are mostly a low margin service only product. So yeah, I think another interesting bit of the industry as well is a lot of people are moving to mobile fitment. So, you know, is getting the tire fitter to come to you. Why not? You know, the mobile vans have existed now for quite a number of years, but a lot of people just don't use them. You know, they still try to, you know, just go down the local. Or usually what it is they get caught out with no choice but to go down the local tyre shop. Whereby the guy, you know, people that are planning a bit more in advance, that's one of the features we offer on the website, is, you know, comparing mobile tyre fitters as well. Get the guy to come and do it while you're working during the day, you know, and they can do it at the side of the road. Well, maybe not quite the side of the road, but preferably not. But, you know, car park, at your home, at the office, you know, and generally, to be honest, right now, they charge very little for doing that. You know, so for the consumer, it's usually worth it.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Well, I think we're at the end of our time, Jeremy, so I think we need to wrap up.
So before we do that, Bryan, name of the podcast, Insert Buzzword Podcast. Is there a buzzword that you either love or hate from your industry?
That's probably a bit more wide. I probably said it earlier. Entrepreneur.
Yeah, nice. That's a great one.
And I liked what you said about never really like calling myself that. Like other people can say it, and I still feel awkward when they do.
Yeah.
So, but my follow-up question would be, well, how would you describe yourself?
I think, well, for me, an entrepreneur is someone that, has been in and out and exited lots of companies, not just one or two, dozens. That's an entrepreneur for me. And I think there's very few true entrepreneurs like that, really, in Scotland, in fact, in the UK. I think even in history. So yeah, how would I describe myself? Someone that keeps going on, doesn't know when to give up.
Doesn't give up.
Doesn't give up. I think that's how I would probably describe it. Just keeps going. Always sees another play, and I think always got a bit like a chessboard. I always see another play.
Amazing. Bryan, where can we find you? How can we visit the website? What are the details, please?
LinkedIn seems to be my social media of choice these days. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Bryan MacMillan. And yeah, tyrerunner.com.
Amazing. So thanks everybody for listening. Bryan, it's been an absolute pleasure. I didn't think I'd be talking so much about tires, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Tristan, as always, pleasure to co-host with you. And with that, we look forward to seeing everyone on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Give us a follow on social media and listen to all of our other episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. Bye.